Welcome to part 1 of Competency 16 quiz. In this video, we will work with connecting and communicating mathematics. Number 1, the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas has a capacity that varies depending on the event and type of event as follows. Then below the list of events, the question is, if the Spurs play a basketball game on Thursday at maximum capacity and a soccer club plays a game at 89% capacity on Friday, what is the difference in capacity from Thursday to Friday at the Alamo Dome? Okay, so let's use a proportional setup, and then we can put this in the calculator and quickly get a value. Okay, so on the left-hand side, I'll set that up first. Okay, all right, so let's look at the numerator. We have to get the difference, and I know that I've got 89% capacity of the soccer, but the basketball at 100% with total capacity, that's where we began. That was the original capacity. So that's my denominator. The numerator is the difference. So let's start with the greatest value so I don't have a negative situation. Okay, so that is actually 64,000 times the 89% minus the 31,900. Okay, now we need to set that equal to the x, which would be the percent we're looking for, over the 100%. Okay, remember it's difference over original equal to the percent I'm looking for over 100. Now remember, you're going to cross multiply, then divide by the coefficient. This is what I mean. I always start with whatever is across from when I cross multiply, whatever goes with that x, okay? So I'll write it out and then we'll pop it in the calculator, okay? Here, let me get it that. Oh, right. We have 31,900x equal to, in parentheses, 64,000 times 89%. Okay. All right, what I'm doing is on the other side. Oh, I failed to mention that. You have to, on the other side of the week, equal, you have to multiply the other items together. That's what I'm doing right now. I just assumed that you knew what to do. I'm hoping you know what to do. Okay, then that is minus 31,900. I'm going to squeeze all this in. Now you have to multiply that by 100. Okay, so then in brackets, I'm going to put 100. Now we have to multiply both sides by the coefficient of the 31,900. So I'm going to do that. 31,900. And then over here on the right-hand side, all of it has to be divided by the 31,900. Now, of course, in front of the x, this all equals 1, so it goes away. So when we put the right-hand side in the calculator, we will get a very close percent. We're going to have to do a little rounding, looks like, because all of my answers are approximations. So let's put all of that in the calculator. Okay, set up my fraction. Now the numerator, I'll have to use double parentheses, okay, because of the brackets we have, okay? So parentheses, another parentheses, 6, 4, 1, 2, 3 zeros times 89. Now I'm going to call that a percent. Second, open parentheses. That calls it a percent. Close your parentheses. And then subtract the 31,900 900, close my parentheses. Now I can say times 100, but it's perfectly fine just to type in the 100 because your calculator will actually be able to read the order of operations. Now arrow down, divide by the 3,900, and let's press enter, and we should get the approximate value that we need. Okay, ooh, we get a fraction. Doesn't matter. Push that toggle button above the enter, and you have what you need. Well, let's round up to the nearest percent like they did in the answer options, and that gives us B. Number 2, according to a particular recruiting website, the top 10 highest paying Texas cities for golf industry jobs are listed in the table to the right. Which of the following graphs is the best representation of the data and displays the measures of central tendency correct or approximately? Okay, so what we need to do is put all of these salaries in a list. I have already taken every salary and put it in my first list, my L1. Okay, if you haven't done that, you want to do this for yourself, you can stop the video and make sure you put them all in as you see them. Okay, so that's what I've done here. All right, now once you do this, okay, let me go up and let you see the ABC options. Okay, there's 3 of these. So what do? We say second mode to back all the way out. It's best practice. And then second, data. Now, you only are using one variable. This isn't a frequency. This is a list of data points. Okay. It's specific situations. Okay. Which for us is dollar amounts for those cities. So we just have one list. Okay. So what do? You need to have, well, I have all my data in L1, but you don't have anything in the others. So we have L2 highlighted from a prior activity. So what we need to do is just have one, okay? And then enter and enter again, and then arrow up, and you'll go to your maximum. You'll have the list you need if you arrow up. Okay, so let's look at A, B, and C. I like the maximum that I have there for A, but I do not like B. Okay, that is giving me the Q3 as my maximum value, and that's incorrect. So that eliminates B. Now, also, if you look at not your Q3, let's look at our Q2 or our median. I'm going to go up and let's look at that. That is a little bit over $40,026. So I see again, I disagree with B, but also I'm going to disagree with A. I don't like that at all. Okay, that's too high a number. I mean, it's not even close. Okay, so that eliminates A. But let's verify that B is going to be okay. I mean, C rather. Okay, notice C is just slightly, it's very difficult visually, but if it goes over slightly, then this would be correct. So I like the maximum, I like my Q2 or my median. Now let's look at our minimum. Okay, uh, don't, eh, be careful is what I'm about to say, is don't just look at what you have. Make sure you arrow up all the way because you could have made a mistake thinking that your Q1 was your minimum and it is not. It's actually what we have listed here. It's the 39,134, okay? Which is also correct for A, but it's not even listed for B. However, B Oh, no, it is. It is. It is listed as your Q1. That's incorrect. So we've proven without a shadow of a doubt that B, there's everything was wrong with B. Okay. In A, there were a few things correct, but one big thing wrong. But for C, we verified everything is in line and it looks correct. Even though they don't give us the values of our Q1 and our Q3, we can take a look and see that it would come out in the wash. It would be all right. But C, either way, C's the best thing. You got to go with your best choice. It's all we have. So that's what we're going to select. Okay. Now, if we had a TI 84, I guarantee you we would get that exact image because I checked it to, you know, just to check its validity. And that's the exact image we would have. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next one. Number 3, Mark is teaching his first year algebra students how to factor quadratic equations. How could he show the class a quick way to multiply 61 and 59 by using the difference of squares? Okay, the first thing we need to do is actually pop these numbers into the calculator, okay? So 61 times 59. Let's enter that. Okay, that's the value we're looking for. Well, it's very clear that some of these things, one, they're not a difference of squares, and they don't meet the definition, and two, they aren't going to be the value that we need of 3,599. A will not work because this is not a difference of squares. It simply doesn't work. One of these would have to be a plus, okay? Now, let's look at B. I disagree with B simply because very quickly I can tell you that this doesn't work. Well, also, let's look at the right-hand side. I don't believe that's going to be correct either. Let's do that. 34, obviously it isn't. 3481 minus 3721. Okay. Absolutely incorrect. That I'm not sure what that shows. Okay. Now let's look at C. Okay. I do see the numbers that we need to see. I also see the fact that the left-hand side is a difference of squares, so I like that. And now let's look at the right-hand side. It will yield the value that we need, the just minus 1. That works. And we can also FOIL, and it's going to be what we need. We can pop in the calculator and see that it works. So let's do that. Well, and you could see that that's, well, we don't even have to because 60 minus 1 is 59, and that's one number that we need. And 60 plus 1, that's the other number that we need. And on the right-hand side, uh, that actually, if you look at it, that's going to be uh, 60 squared, right? And then minus the 1. So what happens is we FOIL and we end up with the exact definition of difference of squares. So I agree with that. D, I don't agree with because these two things are not the same. So, and obviously doesn't satisfy the definition of difference of squares. Okay, so C is what we're looking for. Number 4, in an algebra class, students are using their scientific calculators in self-discovery to determine the fastest way to solve a linear equation. And they give you an equation. Which of the following expressions should the students enter in their calculators? Okay. All right. Obviously, A is incorrect because it's changed one of the numbers completely. Oh, okay. The first thing I would do is I would divide everything by 3. We could do better than that. I would divide all of it by 3. This would give me 4x plus y minus 8 equals 0. Now, on the left-hand side, I can leave my y and then move everything to the right-hand side, which would give me negative 4x plus 8, or 8 minus 4x. Either one is correct. It looks like in my list, D is the one that I need. And obviously, B and C aren't going to work. C is trying to trick you by having your positive and negatives incorrect. Okay, now, what they're talking about in self discovery is having the students use the table function on the scientific calculator. Okay, so with this, I have it already typed in. Well, I have the bottom one. Doesn't matter. You can type in the negative 4x first. Either one works. Okay, I'm going to press enter. I have it set up. I'm going to start at 0, steps of 1 with auto, which will give me my table if you haven't seen me do this in a video yet. Now, this gives us not only our obvious y-intercept for 2, if x is equal to, you see that that's our x-intercept. So if we're asked a question about where it crosses the axis, there you go. And any other values that we might need. Okay, let's look at number 5. Number 5, use the information from question 4 above to determine the next step to solve f of 10, meaning x equals 10. So we're looking for x equals 10. But what would be the next step if you're using a calculator? It says the information above. And that question says what it's asking you, which of the following expressions could be used, but they were saying to determine the fastest way to solve the linear equation. Okay, what do you need to enter? Well, the reason this would be the fastest way, you put it in y-intercept form, you could graph it quickly. If it's easy to put that into a graphing calculator. It just is simpler to use. And then we could put 10 in there. And I see negative 4 times 10 is negative 40 plus 8. Okay, and that's going to give me a value negative 32, but that's my value y, okay? However, we're using the calculator. We're using the self-discovery of the calculator. So first off, I know I need a negative answer, okay, because I'm using 10. And already in my head, I see that C is not an option, and I don't like D. I don't like D because I don't like the 56, okay? But let's look at what it means for next step to put it in the calculator. D doesn't give me the next step for the calculator. C gives me doing everything by hand, okay, starting from the beginning given standard form. That didn't help. Now, what would be next in the calculator? So it says inner expression. That implies that you know how to use your calculator. So we would be using table, and then you would get rid of everything and actually put in negative 4x plus the 8 and enter. Now, we have it set up as ask x. Is that what you would do? Would you do an auto list? Okay, you're either going to do auto or ask x. The difference is we need to find out if the answer is negative 56. And I've already done it in my head. You can see it for yourself. That's not the answer. So obviously B would be our selection. But let's go through the motions here. Just go down, push enter. And I like to quickly delete out the prior problem. And I'm going to type in 10. And it's negative 32. So obviously B would be the fastest way using your calculator. I think those were all of the key items in those two questions, okay? Right, this is the last question for our video. Right, I wanted to thank everyone again for first making it to the end of one of my videos. I do a little bit of rambling. Sorry about that. Just want to be helpful. Okay, thank you for your subscribing, your liking, and your sharing. And congratulations to those of you who have just recently passed your test. Happy testing, everybody.